Well, hello everybody. It's a Saturday. I'm getting away from the Tuesday nights because I'm all over the state, but I wanted to meet with you on Saturday, kind of talk to you a little bit about personal development, a little bit about self-improvement and goal searching and goal setting, relationship improvement. These are all topics that I started to get really fascinated with in about 1981. And prior to that, my dad was trying to get my attention, telling me I needed to get my life together, I needed to get improving things. And he gave me a book and he set it on my nightstand. And the dust on that book became this thick. For years it sat there. Finally, one day I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. You've probably heard that phrase before. And I blew the dust off that book and wasn't a really good reader at the time. I struggled to read books, and, struggled with motivation. And I just remember the title of the book. I don't remember anything really that stuck out, except for the title, which was The Power of Possibility Thinking. And then I started thinking, I was 20 years old, I was thinking, could I really get my life together? Could I really improve myself and really achieve goals? And that little book and the title of that book really set my life in a completely different direction. I started to really get into personal development and started seeking after tools that I could really improve myself. First tool I ever picked up was out of 12-step groups and the learning how to support one another and have some principles to live by and practicing those principles in all my affairs. Once that happened, I was off to the races and I never looked back. I've been from 1981 until today. If there's a way that I can improve my family or improve my relationship or achieve a goal, I go after that. Probably one of the best tools that I found during my search, and remember this started in 1981. About 1990, I'd say 1990, I started researching and practicing NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and that is really it originated as a discipline out in California. In probably about mid-70s, and I was designed by two gentlemen. One was a mathematician, an information scientist, and Richard Bandler, and his partner at the time was John Grinder, who was a linguist. And the two of them really set out to study human excellence and really model human excellence. And they wondered, why did this particular therapist or this particular musician get these outcomes, and how could they teach that model if they could elicit their strategies and a model of excellence? Could they then teach that to someone else? So NLP became known as like the study of subjective experience. I've heard it described as the study of the structure of subjective experience, and also I've heard it rephrased the study of human excellence. So all that being said, I started researching this and studying this in 1990. Probably about 1993, I ended up getting licensed as a practitioner, and in 1995, I got licensed as a master practitioner. So what does subjective experience even mean? And I will say this, that there's a couple of presuppositions that NLP is kind of fundamentally founded on, and that is, one of them is the map is not the territory. This is a strange phrase, but the territory would be this enormous globe that we're on that's traveling through space. That's the territory. Our map is our representation or our representation of what's going on to ourselves. So subjective experience is that representation of the territory. This is the thing I learned early on in NLP was that we have 2 million bits of information coming at us at any given time. No way could we ever, in a million years, take all that in. So we delete, we distort, and we generalize that down to about 100,000 or 130,000 pieces of information that comes in at any given moment. And of that, we can only really keep track of, organize, and remember anywhere from 7, give or minus 2. So that's why a lot of times you'll see the Social Security numbers broken down into groups of 3, 2, and 4, or phone numbers were 3, 3, and 4. Small chunks we could remember. So the map is not the territory. Our map is us taking that 2 million bits of information. For instance, there's so much coming at me right now that all I can bring it down to is that I'm in my northern studio and I'm doing a teaching on intro to NLP and personal development. So that's the chunk down. But what happens was we take in this information, primarily three modalities: visual, auditory, kinesthetic. And so with early on in NLP, one of the founders had asked the student to go discover something you've never discovered before. And the kid goes like, "What?" And he looked up. And the instructor said, "Like what you just did." That particular student went home and really went over and over in his mind, what did I do? What did I do? And he looked up, and he noticed when he looked up, he was kind of representing visual pictures. So the visual modality is kind of when people look up. And he started to notice that the eyes were actually the driver of these modalities. So when you look up, you're visual. When your eyes are in the middle, you're kind of auditory. When they're level with your ears, you're kind of auditory. And when you're looking down, you're into a kinesthetic or feeling mode. So those became a way for NLP practitioners to really start to gain rapport with other people. They would find what modality these people were in and enter that modality. If somebody was visual, they would talk in terms of pictures, and they would use visual predicates. Same if they were auditory, they would say, "How's that sound?" So it became a study, almost a study of themes, and I'll give you a couple of themes that really stood out to me, and what my specialty is. So I'll give you 5 themes that are involved with NLP, and just one is outcomes. This is specific outcomes, goal achievement. That was one of the things that really magnetized me to neuro-linguistic programming, is I wanted to achieve goals. I even had in 1981 or 82, I had a company called Personal Achievement Planning, and that we were all about goals. And we had a 5-step plan for goal setting, and I was getting good outcomes with my students and with my members and with the people I was coaching. But it went off the charts when I learned the NLP tools. So outcomes as a theme was a very important thing for me. Another theme was sensory acuity. This is where you hone in to noticing things about people you're trying to help, or your relationships, or even yourself. And sensory acuity could be anything from your tonality when you're talking, to skin tone, to breathing. And the better you get at it, the more information you can elicit from other people, and you can really help them in great ways through becoming a master of sensory acuity. Another theme is behavioral flexibility. Instead of staying stuck in breaking habits, or something you keep doing and you can't get a breakthrough, in behavior flexibility, we really say that if what you're doing is not working, try something else. Try anything else is a phrase sometimes that we use. But I will say this, that that theme of behavior flexibility is very important. Then the theme of techniques, and you'll hear NLP referred to as a technology. And so the techniques, I'd say outcomes and techniques are my specialty. because there's so many techniques that can help people in NLP. And the last one is states of excellence. So you've got these themes: outcome, sensory acuity, behavior flexibility, techniques, and then states of excellence. So when you're thinking about NLP, think in terms of those themes, some presuppositions. We talked about the map not being the territory, but there's another one that says every behavior has a positive intention for us. So you might think, well, I make this sound. Well, the positive intention of me making that tick sound is I'm thinking. So I instead of saying, well, that's a bad habit, or that's a technique you don't want to use in public speaking, I look at the positive intention of it is to be able to say the right thing. That's a very, very primitive example of that presupposition. And then one of the ones that really changed my life is presupposition that the meaning of your communication is the response you get. So that means if someone's feeling offended on something that you said, even if you didn't mean to offend them, then it's your responsibility to fix it. I remember one time a volunteer knocked on my door, and I was working with a homeless, or I was working with a kid who ran away, and we were trying to get him back in the house. And he was involved in gang activity, and I was very upset with this kid for treating his parents that way. And I was talking to him, and I opened the door, and I had a cross look on my face, and the volunteer that was standing at the door thought I was cross with her. And I said to her, could you come back in about 20 minutes? I'm going to finish with this. And I shut the door. Well, she stood out in front of that door stewing for 20 minutes. And then the family left. I was really pleased. We got the kid back in the house. And I said, hey, how you doing? And she says, don't you ever talk to me that way again. And I realized the meaning of my communication was the response I got, was I hurt her feelings. And this was a volunteer who was very proactive, helping at a high level of organization and outcomes for the organization. So I had some work to do to be able to fix that. So those three presuppositions I will introduce you to tonight. Then let's talk about how could you learn this personally? How do you learn anything? And what are the stages of learning? And I'm sure most of you have heard the 4 stages of learning, where you're unconsciously incompetent. You don't know. Then you become consciously incompetent. You don't know. And that stage 2 is a very frustrating place to be, because as you're learning something, it's so frustrating. Then you become consciously competent. That's stage 3, where you can do it. You've learned how to do it. You've learned some NLP techniques. You've learned some better behavior flexibility. You're starting to learn it. And then stage 4 learning is unconscious competence. You don't have to think about it. Think about driving a stick shift. I remember learning how to drive a stick shift, and I would be grinding the gears, and I had to concentrate on every little thing. And it took me a long time to learn. And then once I got really good at it, I was like, you know what? I can do this. I know I can do it. And then pretty soon, I didn't even have to think about it. I could eat a Wendy's hamburger, driving a stick shift, and drinking a coffee. I went through all 4 stages of learning with that. And we do that in every area. But how do we learn? People learn 3 different ways. They learn by direct model. NLP really started modeling some geniuses. And we really elicited genius strategies, and then we adopted their physiology and their order that they did things, and we became able to teach that to a lot of students. This direct model approach is one way that we learn. How did you learn how to play baseball, or how did you learn how to make a apple pie? You followed a recipe. You did the direct model. Another way that we learn are stories and metaphors. And one of the techniques is metaphors. And it was such a great tool for me when I had a big caseload, when I had hundreds of people I was working with. I had fun with metaphors and teaching them change techniques through metaphors. and it was just a great opportunity. But you look at some of the great storybooks. We learn by stories, we learn by parables, we learn by metaphor. So you got direct modeling, you got stories, and then the last way we learn is by doing. You just have to get in there and roll up your sleeves, and you have to take the nail and you take the hammer and you hit the nail. And if you hurt your finger, you realize you got to grab the nail a little bit lower. And so you learn by doing. And there are some trial and errors and some things, a lot of fun that goes on in learning by doing. One of the things that I teach in my 20 Keys to Parenting, and I say it's the 20th key, is that you need to learn this. And its roots are in NLP. And one of the students, in fact, the same student that developed eye accessing, took a genius. I would say this man was a genius. His name, the man who came up with these logical levels or neurological levels, Gregory Bateson. He was being studied by some of the NLP community as a model of excellence, and these neurological levels, and I'll give them to you. There's I think at the time he was teaching 5, but I always have it like 6. So you've got environment, which is the lowest neurological level. Then you have behavior, then capabilities or strategies. Then you have beliefs and values, then identity, and then ultimately the highest one is spirituality. And or you could look at them like, where is environment, what is behavior, how is their strategies and capabilities, why is your beliefs and values, who, your identity, and then who else is your support. So those neurological levels, for me, is where I hang all my themes. So I hang all my techniques in those neurological levels. So if somebody comes to me and they're having a really hard time in their behavior level, or they're having a really tough time in their identity, I'll know where to go to help them. And generally speaking, if someone's stuck in environment or they're stuck in behavior, you have to go upstream. You have to go to a higher neurological level and give them some resources or techniques in that area. And these have worked for, not just myself and not just millions across the globe. It's an international discipline. This isn't something that's just here in Michigan or the United States. Obviously, its roots were in Santa Cruz, but the actual teachings and the discipline itself is worldwide now. But I just tell you from my own perspective, I've worked with everybody from multimillionaires to homeless people, street drug addicts, and have helped in all those arenas. The tools. I'll give you an example of a change from one person who really had a dream of being an entertainer, but he had stage fright. Perfect. NLP has 8 or 10 different techniques or tools for stage fright. So I was able to help him, live his dreams. And for the last 25 years, this man has been entertaining thousands and thousands of people with his true desire. Another gal was a waitress, and she kept sabotaging her career by being late, and really wanted to take that next step and buy a restaurant. But the gentleman that was selling the restaurant really didn't think she was credible. So she had to make some changes, and NLP had a bunch of tools for that. So these are some of the people that hired me as a coach to get to the next level and are living their dreams. And I was fortunate to work with thousands and thousands of families and be able to hand these tools off. Well, now as a retired or semi-retired student of the game, I still do coaching. I still have plenty of time in my calendar to be able to assist people. And with the technology nowadays, with Zoom and iPhones and things like that, I'm able to help a lot of people without really spending a lot of time traveling. So if this is something that you want to learn more about, you really are serious about self-improvement, or you want outcomes in your relationships, you want to achieve some goals and you've just been stuck for a long time and you want to overcome any setbacks and you'd like a really fresh start, then take this number down and give me a call. I will offer you a free outcome specification session, no obligation whatsoever, but I'll take you through an outcome specification session that really will set you on the right course. And then if you would like to continue with the coaching, I would love to have you as a student. So here's the number, 313-300-0403. Give me a call and let's just set 15-20 minutes aside. Let's do the outcome specification session for you, get you on track for your goals. Thanks, everybody.